time for today's Face-Off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quan LX and Big Angry Adams ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-Off on Fox Soul starts right now.
Sean Diddy Combs firing back.
I thought I told you that we won't stop. I thought I told you that we won't stop.
Amid the firestorm of sex trafficking allegations, authorities raiding his homes in Los Angeles and Miami, the rapper now on the defense. His attorney calling it a witch hunt, telling ABC News there was a gross overuse of military-level force as search warrants were executed at Mr. Combs' residences.
In this round, here's Quan LX.
Charles, we are all aware of what's going on with Sean Diddy Combs and the two subsequent raids at two separate residences that are owned by Mr. Combs, by the FBI, Homeland Security, etc. His attorney pointed out in his statement that he was very offended and upset by the military-style operation, that it involved men in military uniforms, tanks, and etc. Like Puffy is some type of threat on that level. He's not a terrorist, but he's a man that's only accused right now, and he's a target of an ongoing investigation. But to come to his home like that was very disrespectful to his children, to his mother, to his family. But let's go to the issues at hand. They really won't clearly say what he's under investigation for. They're saying possible sex trafficking. But what upsets me about that, if he's truly involved in sex trafficking, the brother has to pay for the crimes he's committed. But why is it that just a few months ago, here in this country, in the U.S., the Department of Justice and the FBI came out and admitted that they had busted an East Coast sex trafficking ring, and they had the names of politicians, law enforcement officers, and high-profile individuals who was paying for prostitutes from this sex trafficking operation. But yet we still have not heard any of their names. We've heard no raids going on at their homes. How is it Bill Clinton, his house has not been raided? He went to Epstein Island so many times, it should have been named after Clinton. How is it Prince Charles, who was also to Epstein Island, nobody raided Buckingham Palace, and he even settled a lawsuit against a woman that alleged had sexual relations with him? It's upsetting to me, Charles, that the way Sean Combs is being treated, his white counterparts who've been accused of the same thing are not treated the same way. Still, they can go after Bill Cosby for something he did 35, 40 years ago. But nobody's going after Hugh Hefner and the Playboy State for what he did to young teenage girls at the Playboy Mansion. I got a problem with that.
One, Hugh Hefner's dead. Okay, two, I hate to be the one sitting here forced to defend old white guys, but Prince Charles was not implicated. It was his little brother Andrew. But one of the issues that is confronted in the United Kingdom is that the royal family is seen to be above the law for a great number of reasons and not amenable to police action in the UK. So I think those are just you grasping at straws to say, hey, look at the white person over there. Don't look at P. Diddy, my brother. It's nonsense. The truth is, Danny Masterson just went to prison for the rest of his life. Harvey Weinstein is going to die in prison. That Hollywood titans are being investigated, right? And with Puffy, there has been a lot of smoke, and for years, fire being ignored. There was a clip that has resurfaced of Usher talking on the Howard Stern show about his year spent living with Diddy when he was 13 years old. Now, I fault whatever parent would make that decision, but he talked about orgies and all kind of sexual craziness that he was made privy to as a result of living with Diddy and walking into rooms constantly where people were having sex.
So it sounds like Usher worked at Nickelodeon.
I didn't interrupt you. It sounds like that when Usher was asked if he let his kid live with Diddy, he said, hell no, right? He also, however, we have other clips of Diddy talking about the behind closed door stuff he was going to be doing with a young 15-year-old Justin Bieber when his 48-hour guardianship. Look, it seems like Puffy's a pervert. It seems like he is engaged in criminality, but you called him accused. He hasn't been accused. The only person arrested so far is a white person being identified as his drug mule. That should concern Diddy, because if the feds grab you and they catch you with drugs, they sure have a whole lot of leverage to make you talk.
And the feds have been known to get cooperating witnesses to lie and say anything that they want them to say to get them a deal.
Do you think?
Why is it the white counterparts who've been accused of the same thing in this country have not been raided? Warner Brothers, TriStar Pictures, Nickelodeon executives. So wait a minute,
Again,
telling me that all these folks have come out and they admitted that when they were child stars at Nickelodeon, they were preyed upon by employees of Nickelodeon. But nobody's raided the top executives' homes of Nickelodeon.
You should possibly read beyond the headlines, but they are talking about, like, so Drake Bell, the child star who was and has now been disclosed that he was the victim of sexual assault, right, by his acting coach, right? Well, the acting coach went to prison. Now, it seems like
but
Disney
the top executives who were aware of this, who helped keep it silent, their homes were not raided. They're not in jail.
Well, first of all, you don't know if the top executives kept it silent. You don't know.
Oh, no, their homes were not raided, and the media did not get tips in advance that the FBI and Homeland Security, Department of Justice, was carrying out a raid like they did with Puffy.
There is executives who didn't take appropriate action, and there is actual criminals. And it appears that Puffy is being investigated for actual crimes. And you're acting like there weren't a slew of African-American women who just came out saying that he sexually assaulted them.
That's not what I'm saying, Charles.
Oh, no, it does seem like
I'm saying why
Diddy's
black,
why
the white
so he's off
counterparts
limits.
who have the same allegations against them by white and black victims have not been treated the same way that Puffy's being treated. I got a better one for you. I got a better one for you.
Here's the truth. If Puffy was white, your position would be
no,
absolutely
you're wrong.
I'm not wrong.
Charles,
you wouldn't even want to talk about it as a white dude.
The biggest child sex trafficking organization and institution in American history is the Catholic Church. But why is the FBI and Homeland Security and Department of Justice, why they haven't raided the Pope's house? Why they ain't go to Rome and raid his house when the Catholic Church from the Pope on down for generations covered up child sexual abuse and child sexual exploitation? Why is it the Pope home has not been raided?
I'm not going to defend
They didn't touch way more than Puffy
on what they did for probably centuries, but we know for decades. But again, if you'll reinvestigate, a great number of priests have gone to prison. Right? And
but they didn't raid the Catholic Church with military-style weapons.
Yeah, but most certainly there
they
were raids
never went to the Catholic Church with military-style weapons.
Weinstein was
and the Pope was
powerful man
the Pope
in Hollywood.
Silenced it. He covered it up.
Was the most powerful man in Hollywood for decades. He's going to die in prison because of sex crimes. And you are sitting here.
You point to one white guy.
You point to
one white guy.
What you're doing is you're trying to make this a racial issue when it
he
should
has
be
not
about
been treated the same way
raping
his white
women and
counterparts
children.
have been
And
treated.
if Puffy raped people, put his ass in prison.
Yes, I agree. But treat them white boys the same way.
Well, let's look at the white people.
Go to the Pope's house.
I'm going to be honest with you because everybody's noticing it. Every single political commentator in America, every single one of them knows this, that if you do not step out and say things that are radically pro-Israel, or if you are too quiet on certain narratives and they want you to be radically pro-Israel, you can lose everything. That's truth. That is a fact. I'm not feeling like I need to hide from that anymore or be afraid to say it, rather, is a better way to say it, because I've endured this for years. I'm just at the end of my rope. I have given so much rope here, and I am just done with it.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
You know, Candace Owens was fired from the Daily Wire. The Daily Wire was founded by Ben Shapiro, a outspoken Zionist, a Jewish conservative activist, also a fellow Harvard Law School grad, and he made his bones in the conservative media space by being willing to go on campuses and have uncomfortable debates with people with opposing viewpoints. And a lot of it early on had to do with abortion and Israel, right? We have seen this tidal wave of anti-Semitism crash across the world in the wake of the horrifying attacks of October 7th. And we've also seen, we got to separate that from the pushback by those who are uncomfortable or unhappy with the scope of the IDF's response to the Gazans' attack on Israeli villages. Now, those have led to some uncomfortable and fiery debates. We have had those, right? But people are decrying Candace's firing as an example of racism, when the truth is that if you have an employer that you are publicly feuding with, if you have an employer who is upset when you like a blood libel comment, she liked a tweet about Christians, about Jews drinking the blood of Christians, which is a historic blood libel. She was on a podcast where every time Ben Shapiro's name would be mentioned, or his wife, they would hit a ka-ching, which pushes the anti-Jewish stereotype of them being miserly money hoarders. So she was, you know, knowingly or unknowingly, and she's an incredibly intelligent woman, so it seems knowingly, embracing anti-Semitic tropes to the point that Nick Fuentes, a clear anti-Semite and racist, was praising her. And if you have a job, right, and you attack things that the employer holds dear, there's a good chance you're going to lose that job. And it's not racism. It's just, it's a job. Go find another damn job if you're going to get at war with your employer. I think it's a threat. I love that we can have these robust debates without fear of this consequence. But when you go to work for somebody, you probably have to respect their viewpoints to some degree, especially if your job is being a talking head.
Charles, a wise man once said, if you want to know who's in power, look at who it is you cannot criticize. Sister Candace Owens, highly intelligent sister. She has a God-given talent of brilliance in her own way. But Sister Candace, your white friends have given you your Negro wake-up call. The same wake-up call they gave Michael Jackson, who was so in love with white folks. The same wake-up call they gave Oprah Winfrey, they gave Barack Obama. See, Sister Candace forgot. At the end of the day, you ain't nothing but a high-profile, educated Negro in the eyes of your white counterparts. The minute she criticized abortion, Shapiro and the gang was okay with that. When she made very insulting statements about black culture, black behavior, and black celebration of Juneteenth, the end of slavery, she made very insulting comments about that. That was okay with Ms. Shapiro and the cohorts at the Daily. When she spoke out about things in America, our government, what we do in this country is not right, and the gay community, Mr. Shapiro didn't have a problem with that. But the minute she criticized Israel and criticized those Jews who were supporting the bombing that's taking place, that's killing thousands of kids in Palestine, she had to go. So why is it that you can criticize anything in America but the Israeli community? Why you can criticize the gay community, criticize the black community, criticize white conservatives or even white liberals, but you dare not criticize anything coming out of Israel?
You know, I always know when you're lying when there's a lot of finger pointing and you get real animated. The truth is, we just all, nobody watched the Academy Awards, but I think we all watched clips of the Academy Awards. And there was no mention of the Israeli hostages, but people were parading over and over again about the war in Gaza and being hypercritical of
How many hostages?
Right? How many hostages do they still have?
Yes.
How many women and children
still
that
have?
are
Yes.
being raped?
How many hostages?
168 that are
And
left.
according to the United Nations, the Israeli Defense Force has over 745 women and children hostage in Israel that are Palestinian.
I get it.
So what makes that 100 and something more sacred than the 700 and something Palestinians who are held hostage?
The fact that Gaza started a war that they're not winning, and that I think it's a regrettable war and I don't like, but we're talking about
Hamas started a war, not Gaza.
And again, you're yelling because what the lie, the anti-Semitic, and I love that you are free to be an anti-Semite here on this show.
And as a white man, you ain't got the power to label me.
Okay.
Because the word Semite comes from black people.
I know. You
the
want
word Semitic
I know etymology,
is an
all of
African
it.
word,
You
an
hate
African
Jewish
term.
people. It's fine.
And I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You Europeans cannot steal our word and then try to label us as something bad with it.
I was born in Texas. I have lived my whole life in Texas. But hey, be a racist, be a bigot, be an anti-Semite. I don't care.
Because I'm speaking of facts.
No, you're actually not, because the fact is that people are criticizing Israel all over this world. In fact, in the wake of October 7th, before Israel had any response, there were people having celebrations that they called protests about all the dead women and children that got raped and murdered, right? So people are free to criticize Israel. The Hollywood is criticizing Israel. Everyone's
Hollywood?
Who? Did you not? Are you not paying attention? Is this confusing you?
You had one
Go watch the Academy
guest
Awards.
commentator make a statement.
You did not.
One little guest commentator.
You had.
And he probably can't get a job today.
Okay.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, he criticized Netanyahu and said it was time for regime change in Israel because of the bombing that they're doing in Palestine, which the United Nations says is genocide.
Okay. I thought you just said no one could criticize Israel, and now you just said the Senate Majority Leader criticized Israel. She didn't get fired for criticizing Israel.
Black people
she got
cannot
fired
criticize anything coming out of Israel.
Embracing anti-Semitic tropes when she knows she's got a rabid Zionist for an employer. If you had an employee that said horrible racist things about black people, you'd fire them too. So
she didn't say that.
Shut the hell up.
She didn't say that.
Hey, maybe let's try not to lie so much.
Candace, you better come on back home because the white folks done abandoned
Candace,
you.
do whatever you can because you got your ass fired.
Yeah, you've been abandoned. Come on home, sister.
White women are extremely obsessed with black women. And it's kind of weird in a lot of ways. I go to the gym almost every day, and the gym that I go to is predominantly white. And it's just weird, you know. When I finish working out, I go to the shower, I put my clothes on, you know, I do my little fro, I put my little waist beads on. And it was a white woman sitting in the corner, and she was just looking at me. And I could see her out my peripheral vision. And I thought to myself, this lady is obsessed with me. I think that white women are obsessed with the confidence that black women have because they know that we are considered algae eaters, and they're trying to figure out why they done threw everything but the kitchen sink at the black race in general, especially.
In this round, here's Quanell X.
Charles, I watched the video just like you just did of this sister making some points and some commentary about white women in particular, speaking about being in a gym and felt like she was being obsessively watched by a white female. And so she drew from that white women are obsessed with, want to be black women or obsessed with black women, period. When it could have been that this just was a lesbian, gay white woman who liked what she saw. I don't know. But I will say this to our sister. White women have been getting skin cancer going to the tanning salon. Many have stopped now, but they wanted to be dark and look dark and be fine like the sisters, so I understand that. So a lot of white women have been going to get BBLs when black women got that BBL by nature. But I will say this to our sister. The #1 leading cause of skin cancer in Africa is bleaching cream. I would say to my sister, you got more black women in America and around the world buying the hair of white women and other non-black women to put in their head, so who are they trying to look like? How many black women in America wear contact lenses of blue, green, and gray because they don't like the dark eyes that God gave them? So the same way this sister said that, it could be thrown back at her that this is happening between both sides.
Well, I think the only thing that needs to be thrown back at her is she was being a racist bigot, which of course you stayed away from by starting off criticizing white people, but then flipping around and criticizing black people because you seem to think, well, why not attack everybody? But could you explain to me what an algae eater is? I'm old, I don't know, right? I know we're the same age, but when she said we are algae eaters, speaking collectively about the demographic of black women, I have no idea what that means.
How the hell you figure I know what it means? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I thought you were on the pulse, Quanell. I mean, come on. Look, this woman is a racist, right? I know you adhere to the notion that all black people can't be racist. There are micro empowerments and macro empowerments, and this woman is talking about white people, like you often do, talking about white people holistically, when the truth is we are all individual human beings, some smart, some dumb, some handsome, some ugly, some beautiful, some monstrous looking, whatever. We all have differences, and none of those differences are defined by our epidermis, right? I know it makes it easy because stupid people want to be able to assume, like if you look at a group and you want to categorize them, like, oh, all white people are this, all black people are this. But what I've always found the most shocking is when people like you who have monetized racism for a living, or the outcry of racism, oh, racism is bad, also engage in racism constantly. It's crazy. So she is sitting here making a video talking about how white women are racist while she's also talking about all white women, right? And saying that all white women somehow want to be black women when there are most certainly
And she's wrong
tons
about
of
that.
black women
And she's
who
wrong about
love being a black woman, and there are tons of white women who love being white, although white people aren't allowed to be proud of their ethnic heritage
That's
anymore.
not true.
But, oh, it's absolutely true. You would
When
call
we
that
watch
racism.
Miss America, we watch
But
white beauty and white supremacy at its finest.
apparently you haven't watched Miss America or any of the
No.
beauty contests
Every time-
in the
look,
last 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5
Because I
years
saw
of
this-
100
I
years.
saw this wonderful
4 or
thing
5 years of
where-
100
where
years.
Ireland, Denmark, Norway, France, I could keep going, with European nations all had women of African descent as their champions in their beauty contests, right? You want to make everything
But those
about
are white
race.
judges doing
but
that.
The truth
because
is,
white men have always had a fetish for that black African experience
there you
with
are.
black females.
There you are.
The
Now
white
you're
man
doing the
has
same crap
always
she was
loved.
doing. So
it's
now-
true, Charles.
so now you're talking about
the
all
white
white
man
men.
has loved that fine black woman with that big, beautiful, natural breast, natural BBL that she ain't got to go get. And Charles, let me ask you a question.
I've seen plenty
When the
of
last
black
time you seen a
women
fine black
with,
woman?
with plastic surgery
When last time you seen a fine black
to have a
woman?
BBL?
I ain't what I asked
the
you.
very suggestion.
When last time you
that
seen that
only
fine black
white
woman?
women
Did you do
getting
a double
butt
take?
implants
You did a double
is
take?
Absolutely
You looked twice?
insane.
Fine
right?
as hell,
Look,
wasn't she?
What you want to
But
do?
you have a lot of white women getting their lips implanted with injections to have like big black lips, you know what I mean?
So now you're
they
saying
burn up in the sanitary place, getting skin cancer.
You don't think
they getting BBLs.
So you're saying that you're basically
That's
doing
some,
exactly what
not
you
all.
did. You just said
That's
all white
some.
men are obsessed with
Oh,
black
all
women.
white men love black women.
It's crazy because I do seem
All
to see
white men
more
love black
white
women.
girls
Even the
dating
slave
black
master
men
claimed
than the
that he
converse,
did not
but maybe
like
it's
black
true.
women and was sleeping with all of them.
Okay, again. What percentage
You know
of
what?
America?
I'm sick of this.
I'm
sick of this.
What percentage of
You ever had a
America
black
owned
woman?
slaves?
You ever had a black woman?
Have I ever slept with a black
slept with
woman?
a black woman?
You know,
I ain't what I asked you. Have you ever slept with a black woman? You got never no hide from me. Have you slept with a black woman?
In undergrad, I did have
I
a
know it.
relationship
Tell the truth.
with an
And you ain't been white ever
Afro-Caribbean,
since.
right?
And you ain't been white ever
What?
since.
I got
you
around
missed that,
before,
sister, don't
before
you?
I met my wife.
You missed that,
I
sister,
got
don't you?
around.
That black experience just
Okay,
dominated
she was
you.
a very nice,
that black experience
very
took over
nice
you.
young lady.
That black experience just bathed you in the holiness of grace.
Have you ever been with a white woman? Is it because you're obsessed with white women, Quanell?
I have to be honest.
Do you have a white woman in
I
your
have to
house
be honest
now,
with you. I have to be
Quanell?
honest with you.
Yes.
As a young man, I did sleep with a
So
white
were you
woman as a young
obsessed
man.
with white women? Did it change you fundamentally?
No.
Is it because
that's
are you
not-
such a racist?
that's not why I
Did she
slept with
break
one.
your heart?
No, she
Is that
didn't.
why you're such a racist?
I'll be honest,
a
Charles.
white woman
I'll
broke
be
Quanell's
honest,
heart,
Charles. I'll be honest,
and now he's a
Charles.
racist.
The reason
you
why I
blame
slept with a
all
white
white
woman.
women.
No, let me tell you
blame
why.
all white
Let me
women
tell you why.
because
Charles,
some
as
white
a
girl
young
was mean
man,
to you in
as
high
a
school.
young man, I
And
did
for
sleep with a
America
white
as
girl.
whole, I would like to
But
say,
Charles-
white girl, why were you mean to Quanell when he was just
Charles,
a little
I
Quanell?
slept with a white girl
he
when I was a
just
young man
little Quanell.
because white
And it
girls
opened the light
would
to
do
you.
sexual things that black women wouldn't do.
Jesus Christ.
That white girl
Are
turned me
you
all the way
honestly
out.
saying
There was things that them white
that
girls
white
would do that
women
them black
aren't
women wasn't
chased
doing,
when
brother.
black women
When I was
are?
growing up,
Why do you
when I
lie?
was growing up,
Why
a
do you
black
lie
girl
about
was not
everything?
doing the same sexual acts a white girl would do. And the
People-
white girl I met, she could suck a golf ball full of water
People
hose,
are
Charles.
individuals.
I was just
It
in
has
bad
nothing
shape.
to do with race. If you look at the childhood pregnancy rates, you're absolutely full of crap. Again, Quanell, stop lying.
I'm gonna get you a picture of
Keep
Beyonce.
talking, but stop lying. You know, P. Diddy's not being prosecuted, he's not being investigated because he is a black man. P. Diddy's a billionaire, he's incredibly powerful. He's being investigated because there's an overwhelming amount of evidence that he's a sexual deviant, and some of that deviance might rise to the level of sexual assault or other horrifying things that involve children. And that's terrible. I hope it's not the truth. I've been a fan of not his music, but the music he produced for many years. But it does seem like there's a whole lot of evidence that he's a terrible human being, and that has nothing to do with his skin color. A white woman talking about black women generally, that would be racist. It's the same thing when a black woman does it. We need to stop defining people by their skin color.
Ladies and gentlemen, we in this country should not be focused solely on Sean Puffy Combs. P. Diddy will have his day in court if that's where it's headed. But now the public persecution of this man is not by the same standard and same litmus test of his white counterparts. If we truly want to go after child sex traffickers and child sex exploitation, why we never raided the Vatican in Rome? Why we never raided these cathedrals right here in America when it's been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, and the Catholic Church admitted for generations they covered up child sexual abuse? Why nobody's raiding the Pope's house?
That's it for the Face-Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.